Hi everyone. So I decided to do a video on why I wanted to become a Beachbody coach. And I've been thinking about it for a while. And yesterday I actually had a really long drive back from Georgia. I was visiting with my family in Georgia with my sister. And on the way back, I listened to probably about 7 hours of motivational speakers. My poor kids, I put them through the ringer with that. I listened to like Brendan Burchard and Darren Hardy and Eric Worre, and it really inspired me to just get my story out there. So I decided I don't really care what the critics have to say, and will always be critics. And to me, critics are just people who have way too much time on their hands and are cowards who stand behind the sidelines judging everybody else because they don't have the courage to get out and do their own things, so they want to just judge everybody else. So I'm not really concerned about what critics have to say. But I wanted to share my story because I think that there are a lot of people who maybe are in the same position or have been in the same position and could benefit from being a Beachbody coach. And I don't just mean financially, I mean holistically. There's just so many perks, there's so many advantages to being a Beachbody coach for your whole well-being that I've experienced personally. So rather than getting dressed up and doing this video where I'm like all professional and perfect, I decided to do it like this because this is me. I just finished a workout. I was doing PIO. I'm practicing my routine for when I can teach it. I got certified, but I don't want to do it until I know the routine really well. So I was just practicing it, and I'm currently doing the Shakeology cleanse, so I don't want to do like a really, really heavy workout. Cleansing from Easter binging. So what I want to say is that I decided to become a Beachbody coach because I've really always wanted to be one ever since I started doing Beachbody programs. And I started doing Beachbody programs after my first child was born, my daughter. And I gained I didn't gain that much weight with her, with my first. With my son, I gained like 70 pounds, no lie. With Ava, I exercised throughout the pregnancy. Was super, super conscientious about that. And part of the reason why is because I've always been super, super conscientious about like my weight, and not for good reasons. So that stems back to pre-high school, like pre-junior high, all that. Probably I can say when I was 11 years old, I read a book called Paper Doll, and it was about a girl who was anorexic, and I thought she was the greatest thing on the face of the earth. I remember signing it out of the library. I remember taking it home. I remember reading it, and I remember thinking, I want to be this girl. And although I never went as extreme as her, I was very obsessive compulsive about food. And I hid it for a long time from my family. When I got into high school is when it got worse. And, I ended up passing out a couple of times. And it was very obvious. I think some of my friends might have even known that I was up to stuff. I mean, I would live on like pretzels. I was taking different, every type of diet pill possible I was trying, on top of, exercising vigorously. And when I say vigorously, I mean I would go for like 20-mile jogs. Like, hey mom, hey dad, I'm going out for a run. I can remember one time telling my dad I was going for a run and not coming back for like 5 hours, like literally not coming back. And my dad was like mad when I got home, like rightfully so. I just took off. I like ran to the next town, which where I live, where I grew up, that's like really long ways away because we lived like in the middle of nowhere. And I come back and he was like, like, where the hell were you? And I was like, oh, I ran to Clayton. And he was like, what? So that's how obsessive I was about it. But I wasn't healthy. Like I wasn't eating properly. So I was actually probably more fat mass than lean mass because I wasn't eating properly. I was doing like crazy exercises like that, like workouts like that. I wouldn't even call it a workout. I would call it torture. I wasn't doing it because I loved it. I did it because if I didn't do it, it would nag at me, like it would eat at me. So I wasn't dedicated to health and nutrition. I was dedicated to this like obsessive compulsive desire that I had to like fill. And that continued with me into college and then into law school. I mean, in college, I was very, very, um, you know, both anorexic and bulimic. I would take tons of laxatives and then I would go without eating and vice versa. And I was an aerobics instructor and I had a really poor diet and it just compounded. And then to the point where my mom had to come out and take me to a special clinic and they did all these tests on me and, you know, the whole 9 yards. And I had to go to a special eating disorder clinic, not overnight, but I actually lived with another girl who had an eating disorder, and so we kind of fed off each other. It became like a competition, at least in my mind. Maybe not in her mind, but in my mind it was. And I would actually be jealous that she was so skinny. I was jealous of how anorexic she was and that I didn't have the control that she had. Like that's how mental I was about it. So from then I went into law school, another very high stress environment, and again with no one watching over me, decided, you know, I wouldn't that this was how I controlled my life. You know, my life was controlled by law school for studying and exams and that regimen, but I was going to control the eating and exercise portion of my life. So I was very, very obsessive compulsive about that. And again, you know, behind the scenes, throwing up without people knowing, and, you know, very, you know, going to the gym and on the elliptical machine for like an hour and a half, and you know, but never seeing results. Like you would never know from my body because I wasn't feeding it properly. And then my dad had a stroke while I was in law school, and I was still studying, but I moved back home to help take care of him and help out. And I would go to and from the hospital, and there was a gym right by the hospital. So I'd go to the hospital, go to the gym, go back to the hospital, go to the gym. And it was towards the end of my last year, and I would study for my law school exams in the gym near the hospital. I would go to the gym and be on a stair climber for like 2 hours with my notes in front of me, and I'd be like as fast as you can with these notes. And I don't mean to laugh, but I think about it now and I'm like psycho. And I would have these notes in front of me and I would study and study and study. And sometimes I would pull like doubles. I'd go in the morning, I'd go in the afternoon, and I was living on coffee and Cliff Bars, or coffee and whatever protein bar I could pick up at the gas station before I went back to the hospital. So again, people were commenting, you know, a lot, oh, you lost so much weight, blah, 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 blah. And I did lose a lot of weight, but I wasn't like toned. I wasn't fit. I was far from healthy. I started having panic attacks. I mean, it was wreaking havoc on my body. And on top of that, I was throwing up because I would get so hungry, and then I would go home and I would binge. I'd go back to my mom's house and binge on whatever was there, and then I would feel so guilty that I would throw it up. So you can imagine what I was doing to my body. Anyways, that cycle continued for a long time, and I had very little, you know, self-worth, very little self-esteem. Not even sure where that came from. I cannot pinpoint at what part of my life that came from. But, you know, that has a lot to do with how I, you know, the relationships that I'd entered into, the marriage that I entered into. Not going to elaborate on that, but you know, those situations don't help. And so Beachbody to me was my outlet. When I was doing a Beachbody workout, I felt phenomenal. I felt empowered. I felt great about myself. Being part of the Beachbody community made me feel like I had a group of friends and that I could talk to and relate to, and, you know, all these strong and empowered people. And I loved the coaches. And so after my first daughter was born, I bought Turbo Jam, and it helped me lose the weight that I had gained from her. Even though it wasn't a lot, I loved Beachbody. I loved Turbo Jam. I didn't go to the gym at that time, and because I didn't have the ability to, because I was taking care of my daughter, and I couldn't go to and from the gym. It was just not in my schedule. It wasn't in my routine. I'm a full-time mom and full-time job. So I couldn't go to the gym. So I worked out from home. And a lot of times I would have my little baby strapped to my chest and a little papoose thing. And I would do modified turbo jam in my apartment. And that's how I was able to lose weight with her. And then moved into a house and had my son and gained like 70 pounds with him and got Chalene Extreme and fell in love with Chalene Extreme and what it does for you with muscles. And then from there, wanted something a little more intense, got P90X, joined all the chat groups, loved talking to people, but, couldn't really stay a part of the community because caused problems. So, I always loved Beachbody, always wanted to be part of it, always loved the community and the coaches, and always thought, gosh, what a great life they live, like what a great job to get to inspire and motivate people. So I ended up getting divorced, and since I've been divorced and since I decided to become Beachbody coach, which was about 4 months ago, the Beachbody coach part, not the divorce part, I have done more in those 4 months with the support of my boyfriend and my family than I have, probably in the past 7 years of my life. I got certified for PIO. I'm getting certified to be an insanity instructor. I've met phenomenal people. I'm hoping to go to Summit. I'm going to a live Shanti workout. I have met the coaches that I've met are phenomenal. I'm in all these workshops and groups. And it's amazing. So that's really what Beachbody has done for me. It's given me the self-esteem and the confidence that I didn't have for so long, that was inside of me, but that I was keeping down, that was being suppressed. So I can't thank Beachbody enough, because it helped bring out a part of me that's been there for a long time, that was just kind of buried. And fitness and nutrition now has a totally different meaning to me. I really, really pride myself on being healthy, not skinny. It's not about controlling something anymore. It's just about the way I feel when I exercise, the way my body feels, being healthy for my kids and for my family. And I love to spread that message. I want people that I love to be healthy because I want them to live for a long time. And I want them to feel as great as I feel after a workout. I want them to feel as vivacious and as healthy and alive as I feel. And that's the message that I want to spread. And I want to do it through Beachbody because they helped me. So if you have any questions about Beachbody coaching, feel free to contact me. You can do so right through this YouTube video, or you can reach me on Facebook, or my email is Melanie, MELANIEZAJ @gmail.com, and I hope to hear from you because I really, really hope that this message reaches some of you. Okay, have a great day.